Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the wicked Triumph Daytona 955i. This is my 2003 model, and today we're going to be discussing whether or not a superbike like this could ever be considered a decent commuter bike. Yeah, she is looking a little bit dirty at the moment. I'll have to give her a clean soon, but yeah, you guys, this is one of those bikes for me that I do ride on a very frequent basis to and from work, but I'm not going to say that it makes the best commuter bike in the world. There are many better bikes out there that I do prefer taking to work, bikes like my Yamaha MT-09 or even the Yamaha FZ6, because they're just a little bit more comfortable. They're not quite as, well, unruly in some regards. I don't know, man, the MT-09 is quite an uncivilized motorcycle, but what I'm trying to say is that there are bikes that I prefer taking to work, but I am fortunate to have the choice. At the moment we have quite a few bikes in our fleet, so I get to pick and choose which bike I want to ride on any given day. But despite saying that, it's not all doom and gloom. This bike is still plenty fun, and I thoroughly enjoy it, even if it is just on a ride to work. But some people might akin this to, I don't know, driving a Ferrari to work, or a Lambo, or I don't know, something that's inappropriate. You know, it's an inappropriate car for everyday driving. Does this bike fit in that? Does it fit that description? You know, say for example, if you bought a Kawasaki Ninja H2, the super sport variant, would you commute that to work, or would you just use it as a weekend rider? Or maybe if you bought one of the new Honda Fireblade RRR SPs, you know, or a Ducati Panigale V4. Would you ride those bikes to work? Would you commute with them to work? I think I would. It does depend, I guess, on the distance that you have to travel, but for me, my commutes are between half hour and 45 minutes. They're not too bad at all. And so on a super sport like this, on a super bike, it's not that big of a deal. And for me, I have a choice whether or not I want to ride down a motorway, or if I want to take some country roads, or I have a lot of options. When it comes to the way I get to work, I have a lot of options. And again, if I lived in the middle of a big city like London, for example, and I'm trying to commute from one end of the city to the other, or maybe I have to commute through a big city, I probably wouldn't, in that scenario, I wouldn't take a superbike in that situation. I would certainly want something a little bit more comfortable, something that's a little bit more suited to urban environments. But for me, because I get the choice and I get a mix of suburban and country road riding, it makes my commutes quite an interesting experience every single day I go to and from work. I'm able to have a blast every morning and every evening when I come home. You know, if I'm a bit meh in the mornings, waking up and thinking, oh, I've got to go to work, at least riding a bike like this puts a huge smile on my face by the time I get to the office. And then of course, if I had a stressful day and I want to blow off some steam, a bike like this also helps in that regard on the way back home. It melts all that stress away, and I feel quite happy when I get home, or by the time I get home. So a lot of this does depend on the commutes that you have and how long your commutes are, if your commutes involve a lot of country roads, then yeah, man, why not? Why not have a super sport and use it to commute with every single day? They're a lot of fun, especially if you get the opportunity to actually open them up a little bit rather than, you know, feel like you're having to ride them in reserve all the time. You never really feel like you get to use the horsepower. In situations like that, it kind of does make you feel like they're a bit worthless. But that's the thing. For me, I'm still able to enjoy this bike on the daily. I'm still able to enjoy it whilst I'm commuting. It's not the most comfortable riding experience, sure, but I don't mind as long as the experience is fun and I'm having a good time when I'm riding a motorcycle. I don't really care so much about the ergonomics. Over a longer journey, and as the ergonomics become more of a factor, that's when you might regret your decision. If you're an hour into your ride and you're on a super sport, or an hour into your commute, that's when it might be a little bit more difficult to justify. But for my situation, the situation I'm in right now, and where my office is that I need to go to, it's not that bad. I can have a lot of fun, and I'd heavily encourage anyone who does a similar commute to what I do to go for it and have a good time doing it. But if your commute stretch an hour or more and the roads aren't quite that thrilling, they're not that exciting, then yeah, there's not much point really. Just at the end of this road here, we're going to hit some nice fun country roads where I can really open this bike up and have a good time. But I don't think I'd want to be riding a bike like this right now if I didn't have access to those roads within a short space of time. You know, basically around here in the West Country, five minutes in almost any direction of travel, you can find yourself on a country road, and it just makes all the sense in the world. But it's funny because I don't know why you're stopped there, mate. Yeah, it's funny because you do see a lot of people riding super sports, but I don't see a lot of people commuting with them. You know, I got a backpack with my lunch and my laptop and all that. You know, I'm ready for the work day ahead. Riding this superbike, and it makes sense for me. But a lot of people, unfortunately, yeah, they'll buy these bikes, but they'll only really use them on the weekends, and I'm actually quite against that. I don't like buying a motorcycle just for a weekend experience or weekend fun. I like to buy motorcycles that I can use on a daily basis. Whenever I want to, I want to be able to use that bike. Except maybe for adventuring or off-roading. That's in that instance, then yeah, I would of course want something a little bit more suited for that kind of riding. But if it's on-road riding, then yeah, any bike I want to be able to use on a commute. And thankfully this is one of those bikes where I can. It's a very aggressive seating position. If you haven't checked out our ride review of this bike, I'd heavily recommend that you do. We go through all the details, we run through the specs, do some 0 to 60 runs, and I talk about all that in a lot of detail. But with this bike, this is perhaps one of the most aggressive riding positions I've ever experienced on a motorcycle. Even for a sport bike, this is very, very aggressive. This is a track bike, in effect. The riding experience is that of a track bike. And that's just one of those things that you have to live with. But if you're not ready for that, it can start to grate on you. Like for example, pain in your wrist, pain in your hands from the weight, because you are having to put a lot of your body weight onto your wrists and your hands. Or if you have a decent back, then you have to tense your back and let your body weight be held by your back so you can take a bit of weight off your hands. But more often than not, you're going to be riding with a lot of weight on your hands. Your knees are going to be tucked up quite high on this bike, especially as I'm tucking my feet back as I'm going into the bends. You know, I'm not keeping my feet out like duck feet on this bike, I'm tucking them in. The bend past your knee is well past 90 degrees. And I'm 5'11". I don't feel too cramped on this bike, but by the same token, after a little while, I think most people are going to feel cramped on a bike like this. Especially when it's not high speed, exciting riding, you know. If it's boring riding, then yeah, the experience is going to get very boring very quickly. But yeah, if you're able to experience roads like this on your commute, it makes that sacrifice worthwhile. But yeah, that's the crazy thing. I mean, tyres, that's a big one. It's quite an important choice. The tyres I've got on the Daytona here are Michelin's. They're very, very good, but they are street tyres. They're not sport tyres, they're street tyres. And they're very, very good. They're significantly better than the tyres that it did have, and they were sport tyres. Or semi-sport tyres, you know. But I've been so pleasantly surprised with these Michelin's. How good they are. I don't feel like I'm losing out on any grip whatsoever over the sport tyres. I'm still able to lean the bike over very, very comfortably and very confidently. But I still get a comfier riding experience than I did before. Yeah. It is amazing how much of a difference tyres really make to the overall riding experience of a motorcycle. And I suppose this is one of the biggest benefits to riding a super sport. They're quite small bikes in stature. They might have fairly large engines, but they're quite small in terms of their physical size. So filtering and getting around traffic and stuff is quite convenient and quite easy. So can a super sport be a decent commuter bike? 100%. 100%. And you'll have an absolute blast doing it. I mean, look, when it comes to urban riding, I really don't think that's where these bikes... I just don't think that's the place for these types of bikes. Where you don't have a lot of space to open them up and speed restrictions and all that. You're just going to really struggle. So in situations like that, I prefer a commuter that has, well, you can have access to more torque rather than horsepower, so you still get that thrilling holding on to the edge of your seat experience that you want, but you don't have to go ridiculously fast in order to get there. Hey. Yeah, boy. This bike's fun. Seriously fun, I love it. And that's the thing, you guys, if I didn't love this bike, I wouldn't own it. I would have sold it by now. I was only meant to have this bike for a year, I ended up keeping it for another year. And I do plan to sell it soon, in the near future. But I'm going to have as much fun as I can on it whilst I've got it. It is a great bike. And most super sports are, you know. Most super sports are seriously fun bikes. But it's just a shame if you can't use them on a regular basis. If you have to keep them in reserve. Yeah. These bikes deserve to be ridden, they deserve to be enjoyed. And if you're not doing that, or you're not able to do that, then it is a waste. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below, you guys. What kind of super sport do you ride, and, well, do you ride it to work, and what is your experience like, especially if it's like in an urban environment or big city environment? What's it like for you? Let me know. Woohoo! The top end of the RPMs on this bike. Really love to pick up the front wheel. If you roll on the throttle and you get to 100% throttle, by the time you hit 8,000-9,000 RPM, the front wheel wants to come up. It's amazing. It's so fun. Because most of the time, you know, you got to jerk it like that. With a lot of bikes, you got to jerk them to pick up the front wheel. But no, not with this bike. Just a smooth roll on, all the way to 100%, and the front wheel will get up on you. It's amazing. It's so fun. So fun. I mean, I have got a different final drive gear on this bike. Oh god, I can't remember how many teeth it is now, but it does give me a little bit more torque at the sacrifice of top speed. But I mean, for the type of riding I do, I don't really care about top speed so much. But the same thing happened with the stock gearing as well. Exactly the same. And if anything, it's a little bit easier with the stock gearing because it gives you slightly more RPMs to keep the front wheel up off the ground. Yeah, man. What a great bike. Yeah, even when I do come to sell this bike, I'm more than likely going to be replacing it with another super sport. Because I can enjoy them at the moment. For the riding that I do on a frequent basis, I can enjoy them near enough all the time. So it makes a lot of sense to me, but there are certainly more suitable bikes out there for commuting. I mean, basically any Naked is a great commuter bike. Sport Tourers are pretty good commuter bikes as well. So there are plenty of bikes out there. Even cruisers can make good commuter bikes as well, if it's something like a Vulcan 650 or maybe a Honda Rebel. Maybe not the giant cruisers that you get, like a Triumph Thunderbird or something like that. But, you know, or a Harley Davidson Sportster, they can be quite good for commuting with. But even so, there's nothing like a super sport. When you have that itch, the only thing that can scratch it is a bike like this. Anyway guys, yeah, like I said earlier, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And yeah, whether or not you use your super sports to commute to work and what your commute is like. Have you tried doing that urban big city commuting on a super sport? What's it like? Let me know down in the comment section below. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this ride out with me, or maybe it's encouraged you to buy a super sport like this, then go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos from us in the very near future. And we'll catch you all in the next video. Everyone take care, ride safe, have a good one.